The world of Middle-earth, from the works of Tolkien and the later adaptations into movies, series and other short stories, is one of, if not the best fantasy realms ever created by man. Of course, for the genre of gigantic monsters, I would say it's the current Monsterverse. For dark sci-fi, it'll be the grimdark Warhammer 40k universe. For superheroes, it's a hard choice. Marvel for movies and DC for animation and comics. So anyway, the setting of The Lord of the Rings and the Silmarillion is a top-tier world filled with human and non-human characters that all have deep stories about them. Imagine Tolkien first created a language, the elvish tongue, and then to make use of it, he wrote all the books and tied them to a universe, let's say a novel cinematic universe. A realm full of detailed geographical features, divine entities, deeply flawed beings, and gigantic monsters as well. So here in this video we will showcase 5 gigantic aquatic creatures from the world of Tolkien, from Middle-earth. The first one, Falen. Created by Tolkien in a poem of the same name, which is stated to be well known amongst the hobbits, Falen is depicted as the last of the mighty turtle fish, resembling a whale and also being the size of an island. Most of the time it would lie still in the water, and over a long period of time, vegetation would begin to grow on his back, furthering the illusion of it being an actual island. It remains unclear whether the turtle fish was a real entity in Middle-earth or just a creation for the poem, but the tale would follow as sailors would be lured by its vastness, and they would land on its back, only to inadvertently drown when the sea creature submerged after they light a fire on top of it. Some suggest that the tale serves as an allegory for the fall of Numenor, much like Falen sinking beneath the waves akin to Numenor's fate, drowning most of its inhabitants. Tolkien drew inspiration from the medieval stories like St. Brendan's Voyages and the Irish Imram tradition, portraying his vision of the Blessed Realm and the western seas in Middle-earth. This is evident in the poems such as the Sea Bell and Imram, where Falen bears great resemblance to Jaconius the whale, as noted by other scholars. The second creature, Uin the whale. Uin, also known as the Great Whale, was a larger than usual primeval whale of Arda who served the Valar called Ulmo, and was thought to have been a Maya spirit that took on the form of this gigantic sea creature. He was stated to be the largest and the oldest of the right whales, and being like a mountain in size. So during the Elder Days, Ulmo gathered a host of the greatest fish, including Uin, the mightiest and most ancient of these whales, to pull the island of Tol Eressëa across Beleriand to the shores of Hysilome in Beleriand. Uin and the host then ferried the Teleri, who were the third of the elf clans, to go on the great journey. Uin took them to the Bay of the Fairy in Valinor before returning the island to Hysilome. Uin and the host were granted the might of the Valar by Ulmo, allowing them to manage such an impossible task. After safely ferrying the Noldor and the Teleri elves, Uin and the other fish departed and made the final trip to Solosimpi. However, Ose Amaya, furious at the island being used without his permission or knowledge, attempted to stop them by summoning powerful storms and deep-sea creatures, leading to a fierce struggle between them, where Uin and the great fish ultimately had to give up, unable to overcome Ose's strength in the water, despite having Ulmo's godlike powers with them. The third creature, the Watcher in the Water. This aquatic creature was described first in the Fellowship of the Ring book, and then later adapted to Peter Jackson's movie of the same name. So during the journey of the Fellowship to Mount Doom to destroy the One Ring, they had to take a detour via Moria, due to the pass of Caradhras being blocked by the traitorous actions of Saruman the White, summoning storms. This creature, the Watcher in the Water, is said to have appeared after the damming of the local river called Ciranon, which is right next to the entry into Moria. It was first noticed by Balin's dwarf company about 30 years before the events of the Fellowship of the Ring, and when Frodo and the party approached the west gate of Moria, the Watcher emerged from the lake and attacked Frodo with its long, pale green luminous tentacles. It would later be fended off by the combined efforts of all in that fellowship, as seen in the movie as well. Gandalf then later remarks that something dark and ancient had emerged from the depths under the mountains, suggesting that there are older and more sinister creatures than orcs lurking in the deep places of the world, which might hint at the possible origins and the nature of this vile creature. So number 4. Sea Serpents. Okay, so the Rings of Power TV show is, let's face it, a vile corruption of the works of Tolkien. It's like deep frying a beautifully baked cake. There were too many changes to the lore that it was hard to watch halfway through. But There was one thing they got right, and that is the great sea worm, a great sea serpent that is a creature described many times in the stories of Middle-earth. Sea serpents, also known as fish dragons, were a type of dragon briefly mentioned in the Lost Road and other writings, which is the 5th volume of the History of Middle-earth, a compilation of drafts and essays by Tolkien. In the Middle-earth role-playing game from 1982 to 1997, water drakes or water serpents were described as cold drakes that had adapted to living in freshwater pools or also in the ocean. The smaller types only found in fresh water were called the rain drakes or the lake worms, while the larger ones that preyed in all types of water were known as the true water drakes or sea serpents. In the short story called Roverandom, a sea serpent is said to have lived in a cave known as the Pot at the bottom of the deep blue sea. This is an extremely enormous creature, a very powerful monster, described as more than 100 miles long, allegedly causing storms by just passing through the world, through the subterranean realms. And then lastly we have the nameless things. Now these are the oldest of the creatures of Middle-earth, as old or even older than the Valar themselves, appearing before even the Maya arrived in Arda. Some of these creatures were described as being slimier than fish, and also preferred dark habitats. They were known to have lived in watery caves deep within mountains since ancient times. According to Gandalf, Durin's Bane had become familiar with these creatures' tunnels during its long stay in Moria. After they both fell from the bridge at Khazad-dûm into an underground lake, the Balrog escaped through these tunnels, and Gandalf had to pursue it closely, seeing that its knowledge of the tunnels was his only means of escape from that region. In another book called The Book of the Lost Tales, published later after Tolkien's death by his son, Nan Dumgortin, or the Land of the Dark Idols, was a dark forested land east of Artanor, where evil tribes of renegade men worshipped gods whose idols were hidden in a wooden mountain. In the Lay of the Children of Húrin, there are also hidden shrines for the worship of nameless gods older than even Morgoth and the Valar. So these nameless things might have taken many forms and shapes and resided in different environments so as to their choosing. Some might be aquatic or even sea creatures, while others might have preferred terrestrial environments and even subterranean ones. Now those are all the great sea or aquatic creatures of Middle-earth. We have Uin the great whale, we also have Fastito Callan, then the Watcher in the Water, the sea serpents, and the nameless things. So if you desire more content on Middle-earth and the creatures in it, do tell us in the comments section below. And if you like this video, then watch this other one as well, and do check out our channel for other monster content. Like, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video. Take care, fam.